Hey, what's up, guys? Today we have an interview with the legendary Brofist, aka Cloud Strife, aka Subtle Enigma, aka Internet Meme. He's got,
Oh
aka
my God.
John. Most people call him John because he's one of those people with a dumb username who gets referred to by their real username, like Great Astard and Hugo, and Pokey Aim MD and Joey. So, John, how are you doing today?
Hey man, what's going on, bro?
All
I'm
right,
pretty good.
so I'm sorry I threw you into the fire so quickly. That was a little mean.
Dude, that you couldn't have waited a little bit longer to do that?
No,
Like,
no. I think otherwise I would have forgotten all those wonderful usernames you used to have.
dude, okay, I was young, okay?
Yeah,
Like,
no, I know. You're talking to a guy with the name Blazing Kickin' Chicken, so.
yeah.
No, the reason I mentioned the Cloud Strife thing is because I really want someone from the old days to come across it and be like, wait a second, bro, isn't that John? And then they hear Cloud Strife and like, yup, it's John. So
It's not gonna happen. Those guys are all long gone, bro.
you would think so, but I know they get the nostalgia urge. I was watching some old YouTube stuff the other day and I saw a Sarkaz Jack comment from like 2 years ago, so it'll
Oh
happen.
wow.
Yeah. Anyway, so tell us, how did you get into competitive Pokemon?
Well, as far as Pokemon, I had always played the games like as a kid. Like I remember my first game was Pokemon Yellow on the Game Boy Color. I was like 5, 6 years old or something, and I played the shit out of that. And then I kept buying, my parents kept buying me these games, and I kept playing them, and I was just obsessed with them. And then I remember the hype for fourth generation when it was about to come out because like it was the first generation to introduce like actual battling with people across like the internet and shit, right?
Mm-hmm.
So so I bought that game and I played through it, and then I didn't know anything about like competitive, obviously. But I somehow stumbled upon a gentleman by the name of MTG Xerxes, which I'm sure if you're in your like mid 20s and you play this game or you've played this game, you know who I'm talking about because that's like where like maybe 50, 60% of the people from our generation come from is YouTube. And
Xerxes or
then,
Maryland, yeah.
yes, Xerxes in Maryland, yeah, for sure. And then somehow or another, I made my way to the Maryland forums. And right there, I saw someone advertising this like small community like called RegiLeague. I think it might have been like Laurel, like not even kidding. Back in this is like 2008, 2009. So I go and I visit this community and I start brushing up on everything competitive and EVs and IVs and breeding and all this shit, right?
Mm-hmm.
Um, and yeah, I just pretty much liked it and got into it, and yeah, here we are.
Couple years later, always the humble guy. In a generation, not generation, people have always had egos, but in a game that makes it so easy to be egotistical, players have often praised John Brofist for not having an ego. So it's
I try
refreshing
to keep it. I try to keep it at a minimum. Let's say
to a
because I don't want
reasonable
to.
extent. You win
Yes,
one game and suddenly you've just destroyed all the crust.
yes, I won't call myself the goat for winning one game.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah. Just for winning two games. I'm
Oh
kidding.
no, or call myself the goat in general. Actually, I won't do that.
Yeah. Okay, so how did you do get that tag, which leads us sometimes. So that leads us to our next question, which is how did you become established as a top player?
Well, my journey on Smogon started off kind of weird because I didn't actually get into Smogon until like a couple of years after I was doing competitive, which was like it was mostly Wi-Fi stuff on RegiLeague, like I said before. And then around like 2010, when did Garchomp get banned from
Uh,
DV?
that was before even my time. That was pre-platinum. So I'm going to say like late 2008.
So around this time, I made my way to Shoddy Battle, and I started making teams on there and hitting up the ladder. And of course, I could never beat anyone good on it because everyone like at the top of that ladder at the time was just like gods. Um, but yeah, so I started on going on there, and then I forget. Oh, and okay, so I went on Smogon after that. I started on Shoddy, and then I went on Smogon the forums, and I started following the World Cup of Pokemon at the time. So I think it was in the finals, and it was US West against, or it was like Team Brown, I think, against Oceania.
Yeah, Team
I think.
Brown, for those who don't know, is India and Middle East Greater Subcontinent or something like that. And they referred to themselves as Team Brown. It wasn't entirely inappropriate. Yeah, go
Right,
ahead.
right. So I looked at this World Cup of Pokemon thing, and I was like, wow, this is really fucking cool. I want to do this. Like, I want to get into this in forum and make a team, and I want to get into this. So I grinded. I grinded like unofficials and like the shoddy ladder, and never really got known for doing that stuff. And then the next year, I think it might have been like 2011. I want to say
Mm-hmm.
I tried out for Team Latin America, and I made the team as a sub,
Mm-hmm.
which is like a big deal to me at the time. Like, wow, like I'm like complete unknown. Like nobody has any idea about me, and like I make this team.
Mm-hmm.
Um, so I play on LA as a sub for about 2 years, and then on the third year I'm on the team. I get to actually start from the beginning of the tournament. Um, so I think I pick up a couple of wins there, and the team makes semifinals. And like I'm still kind of an enigma,
Mm-hmm.
but people at least at least I've gotten my name out there enough to where people can like sort of recognize it, like not as a top player, but like as a player, a guy. Okay,
Right, right, right.
so SPL 4 is coming up. This is in like 2013, I think.
2013. Yeah.
So SPL 4, and I sign up, and I still don't know why. Like, so Tennis Ace and Little GK, who were the Circus Maximus Tigers managers, and Tennis Ace still is and will probably always be. Um, so they buy me because they really like my username. So
Wow.
yeah, yeah. But although I have my suspicions about this, because I was really good friends with That's Just Peachy.
Mm-hmm.
If anybody remembers who that is, like really good player from Cerebi.
Mm-hmm.
Um, from back in the day. So I get on the Tigers, and I'm suddenly starting for them in what is then the current generation, which is Black and White 2, post Genesect Tornadus bands. But yeah, I'm starting from week 1, and I had a really good start to that tournament, and people were kind of taking notice of, wow, this guy's actually kind of legit. He can kind of play this game.
Mm-hmm.
So,
Mm-hmm.
and that's pretty much my start, and how I got myself established in the community.
Yeah, that was your breakout tournament. There were a lot
Yeah,
of big wins in that one. You guys
yeah,
almost won the whole thing.
yep, for sure, for sure. That was the one where people started to recognize who, like, what my name was and who I was. So
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And then after that, the next year, XY came out, and you joined US East, and you had an undefeated record throughout the finals. And people are like, "Wow, this guy really knows what he's doing," including one of the
right.
most infamous games in Pokemon history. But we'll get to that later. Before we get into the heavy stuff, let's start with some more fun stuff. So, what are your favorite competitive Pokemon memories? So, this could be anything. This could be the time I kicked the crap out of that guy who was #1 on the ladder who wouldn't shut his mouth, or just hanging out on Skype, Discord, Zat, whatever, till 3 in the morning, wasting time, but not really because it was fun, or winning a big tournament.
I think my favorite memories are just like, so for people who don't really know me and have never really talked to me, they think I'm kind of mysterious in a way. But if you're in my like little inner circle of people that I talk to on the regular, or jerks, as the kids like to call them these days,
Mm-hmm.
um, if you're in those little circles, you know that I enjoy going around and watching the most random of random games, on whether it be on ladder or friendlies on like smog tours or anything really, and just like hanging around and kicking this shit with people, and just like trolling and having fun.
Mm-hmm.
So I think my best memories are probably those moments where you establish and grow relationships with people, Just having fun, like watching games and playing the game that you both consider that you all consider like your hobby.
Mm-hmm.
So I think this goes way back. Watching or following you around on the black and white ladder on PO, those were good times.
Oh, I remember that because I got mad all the time. That must have been funny.
Um, yeah. I think just like this is kind of more in recent times, but like following people on the OLT ladder while being in call with my friends is like
Mm-hmm.
some of the best times. And obviously, winning team tournaments is like there's no feeling like it.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
There's no feeling like it. I can't really like rank what my favorite wins would be because it would be kind of like choosing between all your different kids, and that's just not fair.
Or so you
But
think until you have that one kid who's just the worst. But
right,
yeah,
right.
right.
But in general, it's not something you want to do as like, or it's not something that would want to do if I had kids, if I was a parent. but uh, but yeah, those are probably the best times that I've had in this game. Is the just because of the camaraderie that you form with the different people that you meet across the years.
Yeah, it's like come for the game, stay for the people.
Exactly. That's pretty much why I'm still around. Really, the game doesn't really do anything for me anymore as far as like fueling some competitive fire inside me. Like that was never really there to begin with. But I pretty much just stay for the friends that I've made and
Mm.
the conversations that I have, and the fun that we still have to this day. It's like there's nothing like it.
Do you ever have that competitive fire fueled up in you by seeing something really cool?
More like by seeing something really dumb.
Really?
Like yes, by seeing something really dumb. Like someone will say something completely that I think is completely stupid or ridiculous, and I'll just be like, well, I want to prove that person wrong. Okay,
Mm-hmm.
so I'm gonna keep on playing. I'm gonna join this tour. Like I saw a post after SPL, I think, and I'm not going to name the user, but he was pretty much saying, "Oh, US West is going to keep dominating this year and dethrone East and whatnot." And I wasn't going to play the latest World Cup, and obviously I shouldn't have because of the way that ended up. But that's besides the point.
Mm-hmm.
So I wasn't going to play until I saw that post, and that kind of ignited something in me that made me want to go. I want to fucking excuse my language. I want to
Go
fucking.
ahead. Go ahead. Yeah.
I really want to prove that person wrong and really win this tournament again and do it for my guys.
Mm-hmm. Would you say that's a healthy way to keep going? And I say this because a lot of the time when I've felt angry, which is all the time, I know, but when I've been like wanting to keep winning just to prove some idiot wrong, then someone's like, dude, that's not healthy. You can't always do that because of the game we play, and you got to play for yourself. And I don't know how long it's going to last going forward, or if you're going to, lose your mind eventually doing it.
And I've probably told you that at some point too. Like
A million times, yeah.
you have nothing else left to prove. Like, why are you letting these people, make you mad and shit? But I don't know. It's just something that's kind of natural, I guess. Even though it's not necessarily healthy. Like, it'll depend on what your definition of healthy actually is.
Yeah.
Um,
Slamming your
but
computer into the wall because you missed a focus blast.
right, right. But I guess it's like different things motivate different people.
Mm.
Some people might be motivated by what I'm talking about. Some people might be motivated by their search to be like validated through whatever individual trophy that they might be pursuing or
Mm-hmm.
something.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. All right, so let's get into the heavy stuff. What skills do you value in Pokemon?
Skills that I value.
Mm.
Wow.
Broad question, I
Um,
know, but this is what draws out the unique answers out of people.
Definitely things that I don't believe that I myself have in my own game. So I'd say that over the years that I've been playing this game, I've sort of tried to model my game after parts of other people's games that I thought were like kind of essential to have.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So, for example, I've kind of tried to take stuff from just people that I thought were way better than me, and that I've eventually became like good friends with through talking to them and stuff. Like, so this would be people like you and McMegan and Blue, Sweetbitch, CBB, people who I thought were just like way better than I was at a certain point in time. So I tried to take parts of your guys' games and integrate it to my own, but then like there's other skills that I've never really been able to hone myself. So I'll give you an example. People who are really known for their abilities to team build and their attention to detail when making a team, and like why they put this on certain mon, and why they use this spread, and why they do this on in the team builder, and why they do that. Like that's something I've never been able to kind of develop myself, and I really admire people who can do that.
Hmm.
So your TDKs and your ABRs and yourself, people who really dive deep into the whole minutia of team building. I think that's really cool. I've never been able to do that personally, so I've definitely value being able to build as someone who's not very adept at it, I guess.
Hmm.
Um, Other things is just like being able to, and I think this has been said a million times in the series, being able to position yourself properly, being able to not just predict to make a flashy player to show your opponent that you can predict, because anyone can do that, right? Anyone can get lucky and fall into a prediction and kill Pokemon in one hit because they made a clicky play, and suddenly it looks like you're a god, right?
Hmm.
Anyone can do that. But really knowing why you're making the move that you're making, being able to sort of have the foresight to say, okay, I'm going to make this move on this turn, and it's going to either pay off or lose me the game 3, 5, 10 turns later, right? Being
Hmm.
Having that foresight, having that anticipation, that's something I
Hmm.
really value a lot personally.
All right. You are actually known for your clutch play and foresight. I think a lot of other players on this show have mentioned you because you're very methodical and do just that. The entire game being planned. Very rarely, almost never actually, are you going to see you throw the game away on a careless or risky play. And this is on the biggest of biggest stages, too. Now, a little bit of a thing there is that players don't play as risky generally on such a big stage because it's hard to pull that trigger. You can't just say, "Oh, I'll get another game," or "Oh, I'll get him next week," if it's a tiebreaker or a final or something. But at the same time, there's a difference because some people will play overly safe, whereas
Right.
you will make like the double switches that are guaranteed to get you into an aggressive winning position.
Right.
And it's aggression, but it's very controlled aggression, I guess I should
Right.
say. It's
Right.
not sitting on your ass and doing nothing, but it's also not overcompensating and going, well, I better click Psychic versus Greninja every time,
Right.
or
Right.
that was a dumb example, but you get the idea.
No, I totally get you. I mean, it goes back to knowing when you have to be aggressive and when you're just making a play because you're trying to like show people that you can make a play. Like, there's no point in making a flashy play if you're really not in a position to have to make that play. Like, if you're really behind in a game, then obviously you have to kind of risk more stuff, and like kind of play with your balls on the table, as I like to say a lot
Mhm.
of the time. Um, because if you're really behind, there's no way. And if the player that you're facing is good and you just let them steamroll over you, there's no way you're gonna come back in that game. Especially if let's say you have team disadvantage, there's no way you're pulling that game back. Um, but yeah, I think something that I try to do myself is, like you said, the controlled aggression part is like plays that don't really seem aggressive, but like put me in such an advantageous position that they may seem overly aggressive because my position is now so good that you can't really come back from it, or um or plays that will like not necessarily give me an advantage, but they will definitely not make me disadvantaged, if that makes any sense.
You
Like
mean more like even if it doesn't go the way that I
I'm
want it to necessarily, I'm not gonna be screwed.
I'm not going to lose the game just because I do this.
Hmm.
I never make plays that are going to instantly lose me the game if I make them, unless I have to make that play.
Hmm.
You know what I'm saying?
At which point, then if you just keep going the way you're going, you're gonna lose anyway. So
I'm going to lose regardless because
yeah.
I'm just way behind, whether it be because of team matchup or because of, whatever variable, or because I'm getting outplayed,
Hmm. All right, so I'm going to ask you to not lose the humble thing because you shouldn't lose that, but I am going to ask you to list your accomplishments that not everyone might know about because you're pretty low key in the grand scheme of things. Now, people
Hmm.
know you as being really good, but could you list what exactly put you on the map as Brofist is the greatest player ever? Because there are a lot of people who say that.
God. Oh,
Yeah.
God. I don't
Get
know
it
who
over
those
with
people are.
quick. You don't have to indulge too badly, but just go over them. What were the big
So,
moments?
So most of my accomplishments have come in team tournaments, and the bulk of it has been World Cup because I've only played like a handful of SPLs at this point. So it's mostly World Cup stuff. I think I'm tied with Earthworm for number one all-time World Cup wins, if I'm not mistaken. Either tied or behind by one, or tied with Phil or something for most World Cup wins all time. And up until recently, I had a streak that could like I guess it couldn't be really matched by anyone in who's ever played on Smogon, which was like kind of cool to think about. So I was 8-0 in tiebreak game T tournament tiebreak games, which was like whoa, like kind of mind blowing to me. But yeah, it's mostly been team tour stuff.
Hmm.
Uh, I think I'm also have a 30 game plus minus on all time team tournament records.
Hmm.
So I think I'm 57-27 at this point.
Hmm.
So, and I don't think anybody else has that 30 game differential. And I could be mistaken. Maybe Tama or somebody has it, but I'm
Hmm.
pretty sure no one has that. No one can say that. So
Okay. Now, the tiebreak thing is crazy because the first one goes back to that first breakout SPL you had against CTC. And
yeah,
yeah, so that was 2012 to 2018, which is just nuts.
yeah, I went like 5 years? No, 4 or 5 years without playing a tiebreak,
Hmm.
and like since that second tiebreak I've played like
Yeah.
6 or 7 more of them, which is like really crazy to think about because this has all been in World Cup too.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah, it's where you got the reputation as the tiebreak, god, pretty
oh my
much.
god,
Yeah.
yeah, that
Yeah.
awful reputation.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh no, people think I'm good at Pokemon. No, I know. I know.
This
I'm
it's the
I'm I'm
worst. I
joking.
do all my best work from the shadows. Like you don't
Right.
understand.
No, I understand. And the term god can be
Very
anyway, very yeah, I'm very articulate today. All right. So, uh let's go to some fun stuff. What are some of your favorite teams throughout history? Yours, anyone else's, whatever.
Okay, so again, I'm not considered by by others or even by myself as like a great team builder.
Mm.
I've already mentioned that.
However, at some point, then I think starting in 7th gen and then going even back to 6th gen, then you started really getting into it yourself.
Right. I kind of, like I said, I try to take parts of people's games and put them in my own game. So I saw the teams that were being made by people who I thought were better
Hmm.
at team building than I was, and I sort of tried to kind of emulate what they were doing in their teams. But some of my favorite teams all time, I guess we're gonna go back to SPL4,
Hmm.
which is one of your teams actually.
Hmm.
So it's Fortress, Titar, Zapdos, Keldeo, Landorus Incarnate, and Celebi.
Hmm.
So it's just kind of a very standard-ish sand balance team at the time,
Back when
but it,
Fortress and Celebi were metagame staples.
right. Back when these Pokemon weren't like
Trash.
they wouldn't get you laughed at on the Smog Tour server for using them.
Right, right.
Um, so I used this team in SPL4 like 3 or 4 times, or different variations of this team, and I kept on changing the Landorus and the Celebi sets around, and kind of to just keep people honest about it. So in that same tournament, another one of your teams actually, I played CTC in the semifinals tiebreak with team of Landorus T, Rotom W, uh, Latias, Breloom, Jirachi, and Scizor.
Mm-hmm.
And this is just kind of pretty straightforward weatherless offensive team for the time. Scizor, not something you see every day now, but it was definitely a staple back then. And your Scarf Jirachis, and the fun part about this team is the Rotom set. I remember you recommended Signal Beam on it, and it actually turned out to really pay off in that game, because CTC had a Celebi, and I hit it on the Switch with Signal Beam, and that opened up opened up the game for Breloom a little bit later on. I remember.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, Celebi was a huge part of that metagame, and
Yeah,
you switching to Rotom every time.
imagine a time where you have to like tech to hit Celebi. Like,
Yeah,
that's unheard.
Keldeo, not long after, then Hugo showed the world HP Bug Keldeo, which was standard for a long time after that.
Yeah, that shit's like unheard of now, but like back then, your expert belt or Hugo's expert belt Keldeo with HP Bug was like whoa, like this is fucking game changing right here, man.
Yeah, yeah. Hit Lottie's too, with Icy Wind, so.
Icy Wind, yep.
All right, moving on. And at this point, if you, the viewer, are just listening, which is understandable, then you might want to look at your screen, because this is the part where the visual stimulation comes in.
So I think the next one comes from World Cup 2015. I want to say.
Mm-hmm. Which
So
one?
it's the Terrakion Slowbro team that I use against Void.
Void. This is World Cup 2015. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So World Cup 2015. This is round one, I believe. So pools. So this is a team that Hugo, McMegan, CUB, and I kind of came up with, like, on the like very very spontaneously. Not much thought went into it, I guess. The team has an adamant life orb Garchomp, which I'm pretty sure you'd appreciate.
I always appreciate plus attack natures, yeah.
Yes, exactly. This team is like kind of special because I kind of made it with people that I really held and still continue to hold in very high regard. Some of my best friends. We made this team, and to actually be able to use it in like a real game or an important game was really really cool to me. So that one's gonna always hold a special place in my heart, I guess. Um, yeah, the next one is the Latios Lopunny Hyper Offense from TDK from World Cup 2016, I think.
Let me pull that one up. That is when it was, yeah.
Okay,
And it
so
was.
yeah,
Sorry, let me just find it in my million tabs I have open. Gen
yeah,
6.
no problem.
So yeah, tell us about this team.
So this is a team TDK made, I think, for Dragon user to use against Roses, if my memory serves me correctly. So this just had like all this shit that I was into back then, which is like your Volt turns and your hard hitters with Bisharp, and your fast shit with Lopunny, and your healing wish, so you could play like a dumbass early on with Bisharp or Lopunny, and bring it back with Jirachi and stuff. I think that's also Life Orb Chomp. If I'm
It was, except it was Jolly.
Yeah, so the good set.
Mm-hmm.
Anyway,
Yeah.
Anyway, this is a team that Blunder and I think even people like Ojama used like way after this. So like the next year to year and a half ish, they would still use this team, and it was as good as ever. Like, can't really go wrong with your Bisharps and your Garchomps and your Rotoms and Auras ever really.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah, in this game, then Garchomp is just tearing everything up. It just ripped through Skarmory and
So the Gar
oh, cut out.
oh the tiebreak team versus Ray.
Sorry, you're cutting out a little right now, but I'm gonna switch to that one.
The tiebreak team versus Raikou.
All right, now you're back.
All right, cool.
Yeah, so the tiebreak team versus Raikou. Yes, this is a great team.
Oh, you're cutting out for me now.
What about now? Is it fine?
Yeah, you're good now.
Okay. So yeah, this was
Yeah,
a big one.
yeah, that's a big one because of the setting and the context of the actual game. So, Mega Guard at the time was, and still is, kind of a dead Mega. Like, nobody uses that shit. But for this game, and I mean TDK and everyone else, kind of saw that Spain tended to favor really bulky Heatran with Toxic as like their only steel type. So their only way of dealing with like fairies was this Heatran. And why not give Gardevoir substitute and Calm Mind to set up on Heatran? Like, get like kill like 3 things, and that's exactly how that ended up going that game. I switched in Gardevoir, like double switched it a couple of times, and got in on the Heatran and Calm Mind and killed Gastrodon and all this other stuff, and yeah, it worked pretty much exactly how we envisioned that it would with setting up on the Heatran. So that was great, and it was also a super important game because were we 1-0 down or was
I think we were down, yeah. And the last game, this was the year that IFM had the hero mode in GSC.
Right, yeah, okay. So I think we were 0-1 down at this point, so I had to win to keep our tournament alive, and Gardevoir put in big work, and I was able to.
Actually, no, I think this was the first game, but
okay,
it might have been. Yeah, I'm probably remembering wrong. But
okay.
So many tiebreaks. It's just so hard to keep track of all these.
I know, it's crazy. I know. Then fast forward to Gen 7, kind of when I really took my own stab at team building. And you would know this team because I think you use it a good amount, right?
I spam the hell out of this team.
Right, this Metagross, Greninja, Tapu Lele team, which on like paper it's like wow, you put like 4, 5, 6 of the best Pokemon in the game on one team, like you're really cool, right? But
it worked like beautifully, yeah.
Yeah, but like you have no idea. Like, I used the shit out of this team, and you used the shit out of this team, and it was just like amazing team until people were like, okay, Pheromosa's a thing. So I kind of had to retire the team when they realized that Pheromosa was kind of broken. But before that, fucking easy pickings on the ladder and whatever tournaments.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I rode this to the finals of the first SMOU tournament, and that has been my greatest achievement ever since. But yeah, it was. This team is really strong. Pheromosa is stupid, and I can't believe there were people who didn't want to ban it.
I know.
But it was crazy. Also, I see your Landorus has an adamant nature. You used to be so smart.
Does it really?
Yeah, it does.
Shit. Yo, stupid CBB and his Pheromosa's trash propaganda. Like, I can never get behind that.
Nonsense. Then there's
Ridiculous.
the Shed Shell Tapu Lele because Doug Trio is so dumb.
Oh yeah, because I think I took that set from Ben Gay, actually. I think I saw him using it on the ladder once, and I was just like, well, that I could use that for whatever silly stall teams that I face on the ladder, and like it ended up really working out that way.
Although you would prefer to not have to run such a ridiculous set.
Yeah, but Doug Trio is Doug Trio, so whatever.
Thankfully, he's super gone now. But yeah, this is a great team. One of the best teams of the early SM metagame for sure.
Next team would be, I guess, the team from the 2017 World Cup Finals.
Hmm.
I'm going in chronological order here.
Yeah.
This is ABRs. Venusaur, Clefable, Latios, Greninja, Zygarde,
Oh,
Celesteela.
hang on, wrong one. Versus Ricardo, right? Yeah, I should be able to
Yes,
find
that
that.
one.
Shit, do I have that one? Oh, I clicked the wrong thing, I think. Anyway, tell us about it. I'm gonna find it real quick.
So the kind of shining piece of this team is the obviously the Zygarde set and the strategy uh, behind behind the set with the Greninja on the team. So the Greninja is dual spikes, spikes T spikes, ice beam, dark pulse, and it's supposed to set up a scenario in which you wear down like your bulky grasses like Tangrowth and Tapu Bulu with toxic spikes, and you click sub with Zygarde, and it's sub DD protect, so it's kind of like a pseudo like Vincoon type thing,
Hmm.
where you just sit there and just annoy the hell out of people with it, and Jesus, dude, like when I tell you that this team like annoyed people, like it annoyed the hell out of people, like in the OLT that followed this World Cup, people were using this Zygarde set and just like oh my god, this thing is like this thing's like Satan, like the embodiment of like the devil right here.
It was really ridiculous. It was one of 6 million things Zygar could do, but with T spikes and sub protect, and it's already the bulkiest thing on the planet, and suddenly Tangrowth is a shitty counter to it because it just dies as you set up. Ridiculous.
Right, and this is like the set that kind of like put it on like I guess the map until people started using the stupid ass glare coil shit, which
Hmm.
was just like another freaking. We're not going to get into that right now, but yeah. Um, so that Zygarde set made people mad, and it was really cool to have it work out exactly like we planned it to work out in that game.
Yeah, this team was also the beginning of you using Venusaur and Celesteela together like there was no tomorrow.
Right. This is sort of the start of my own trademark kind of playstyle with Venusaur Celesteela. I just love them so much, man.
Can you tell us about why they're so good?
So I've never been a fan of using Tapu Bulu as my defensive grass. I would much rather run um your Munguses and especially your Tangerods, right? But I there came a point where I noticed like how anti metagame like Venusaur is, like especially when people started spamming the hell out of Mawile and this other crap like Magirna, your setup Magirnas and stuff.
Hmm.
So it was pretty much just that. I was just like, this is really good against what people think is really good, so I'm going to use the hell out of it. That's pretty much it.
Hmm. And
And
why does it
then
work so well with Celesteela?
it synergizes well with Celesteela because Celesteela is able to come in on like your strong ass psychic types that scare Venusaur out. That's pretty much it.
Hmm.
So your Lele's and your Zams and your Megalodioses, all those guys like can't do jack shit to Celesteela pretty much. Well, in most scenarios, but yeah, they just synergize really well together, and yeah, one of my favorite cores ever.
Hmm. And it won the deciding game in World Cup 2017, as we see on the
Yep,
screen right here.
yep.
So,
Well, I kind of played like shit in that game. Like Ricardo played really well, but I knew what I had to do with Zygarde to win that game, so I just kind of didn't sweat it. I didn't really try to like go crazy that game
mhm,
because I knew I was always gonna have a shot at the end. But Ricardo played that game way better than I did. So
mhm. Yeah, he had a really threatening Greninja set and made full use of it. But it was perfect because he's got the T spikes for Zygar for Tangrowth, and then the perfect Zygarde set to abuse it, which is just a great call against the metagame because no one was using Zygarde like this at all because it's just
yeah,
absolutely absurd.
and at the time, I think Pex was a little down in usage, so people weren't really running any grounded poisons to kind of remove the T spikes. So T spikes were really, really strong at this point in the metagame, and then this kind of helped people see that T spikes are something that you have to account for in Gen 7 OU.
Hmm.
So yeah,
All right, moving on.
next team would be Um, I want to say the another Venusaur Celestial team. Big surprise. The Venu, Clefable, Lando, Greninja, Zygarde, Celestial team.
Mm-hmm.
So this is kind of based on the last one, except I changed the Zygarde set to something that I thought was a really good metagame call at the time, which was weakness policy,
Mm-hmm.
Dragon Dance weakness policy, because people were running really bulky ass Tapu Bulu at this point. So this Zygarde had DD, Thousand Arrows, Iron Tail, Extreme Speed. So you would set up a DD as their bulky grass came in. Well, let me specify. They're non-Tangrowth, pretty much non-Tangrowth.
Mm-hmm.
Because Tangrowth walls you all day long. Like +3, you just can't do anything to it.
Right, but
Anyway,
Tangrowth was really
um,
down at this point. I remember.
right. Yeah, Tangrowth was pretty down. It was mostly Bulu and I guess your weak ass HP ices from Scarflandos, where people were using those to check Zygarde at the time. So I was like, okay, let's use weakness policy because I'm gonna get a second Dragon Dance on Lando as it HP ices me, and then the weakness policy is gonna activate, and I'm just gonna go to town. I'm gonna get like 3 kills before Lando's able to intimidate me enough to the point where I'm gonna be stopped by something, or you just get a second Dragon Dance on Bulu and you kill it with Iron Tail, and then you just keep steamrolling through the team from there, pretty much.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And this worked out really well in the one game that it's really been featured in, which was your tiebreak game against Zalmog in SPL 9.
Yes, it was.
SPL
It
9.
was the
Okay.
tiebreak for SPL9.
Yeah, semis tiebreak in SPL 9, and it did exactly what like we thought it was gonna do,
Mm-hmm.
and worked out great. So
Yeah, and
yeah,
stuff like Clefable was insanely popular at this point with that Wish soft boiled thing, and it would
right.
just
I forgot
chew a
Clefable actually.
Moonblast. Yeah, and then you have a +4 Zygarde, and I
Yeah,
remember I was doing a bunch of +4 calcs to make sure it killed stuff, but
it was
yeah,
still
it was
it was
ridiculous.
still pretty it was still pretty fucking weak because it's a Zygarde, but like +4 is nothing to mess with, man.
Yeah, it was crazy, and
Heck,
with rocks up, then even Lando intimidating, can't switch in over and over again. So it was,
by the time it switches in enough, you've already killed like 3 things, so that like it
yeah,
doesn't even matter. It doesn't
yeah.
matter. Next, oh well, I guess I skipped one. This Tangrowth, Heatran, Lando, Haluch
Sorry, you're cutting out.
SPL.
You cut out a second there.
Oh, so the Halucha Coco team from kind of skipped over that one.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Uh, yeah. Okay, I see it against Ledna, right?
Uh,
Uh oh. We got some cutouts here, folks. Should be good in a second. This is from SPL9 as well. This is just like call it 2 months before that previous replay.
right. So are we good now?
You're back. Okay.
Okay, cool. So, Halucha was kind of like on people's radars as far as things that they really had to account for. So this team kind of said, you really have to prepare for Halucha now because I'm gonna just spam the hell out of it.
Mm-hmm.
And I used it for my game, and then a bunch of people asked me for it, and they would like use it on the ladder, and people really kind of took notice of being an actual threat, and like especially compared to like what it is now. It's uh, something people really kind of prepare for just naturally now, because like their teams are overall a lot bulkier now.
Mm-hmm.
So, but at that time, it was easy to kind of set up an SD with Halucha and just kind of go to town on people with it. So that team's kind of inspired that play style a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and I guess this ABR's Scizor Ferrothorn team.
Mm-hmm.
So he had been talking about for a while. Like I'm pretty sure he used it in round one of that same tournament against One True Lycan, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, I remember that.
But he didn't really get to show it maybe.
Hmm.
So he was like let's just run this again because even though like people might know about it, like it's still going to work because it's that good. It's that good like in general. Like that's what makes like something that's really going to affect the metagame is
Sorry, you cut out, but I think you were saying that's what makes something good. Even though people know it, it still works.
it's still going to work. Like it's a surprise, but it's not really a surprise. It's going to work regardless of it being a surprise. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, yeah.
So that features knockoff to knock off Mangazone's Choice Scarf, which was like a really popular thing at the time.
Hmm.
Scarf Zone and fast superpower Scizor. So you're faster than Zone after Pharaoh's knocked it off. So Zone is able to trap one of your steals, but not both of them. So
Yeah, I really like that because it's the kind of thing we've actually used this example several times in the other videos that it's the kind of win-win you look for when you make a team, and it's not always the most achievable thing out there, but this kind of scenario is ideal. Like if there is a Scarf Zone, then it's going to get knocked off, but when it fights Pharaoh, and if it's not Scarf Zone, then Scissor's going to destroy it anyway. So
and then he can't trap your Pharaoh Thorn. So
exactly, exactly.
you get
And
to keep both.
even if he is a Scarf Zone and traps your Scizor first, then you smack it with Superpower because it doesn't come anywhere close to killing.
Exactly. Yeah.
So that's the kind of win-win scenario you really, really love to have.
It's going to work regardless of whether or not they know it. So
Hmm. That's I mean, it's a great idea. It's not always the most feasible thing in the world, but it's as we see Scizor's Superpower Magnezone into dust right there. But it's what you always try to have, and it's the kind of thing you look for in a team.
right.
All right.
Um, it's kind of different from what others try to do in that they try to like make teams that are specifically good opponent. I've always been the type to make or like try to like have my teams be good against the general metagame, but also have something that takes kind of advantage of certain tendencies that my opponent has. But the number one priority is always to be good against the general metagame.
Hmm.
So yeah, uh, I think that's it as far as teams. Unless
All
I'm
right.
missing. No, I think I'm good on teams.
All right.
Yeah.
So now let's get into the really heavy stuff. What are some of your favorite tournament battles throughout history that you have played? Uh-oh. More cutouts. All right. Well, this is going to be a
Just to song Black. Or,
you just cut out really, really hard.
okay, so I could be that guy and mention Megan versus Tasung in black and white for the like millionth time on here, but I'm not gonna do that.
Hmm.
So I'm kind of just gonna give you some of my favorites. Favorite games that I've played.
Sure. Sure.
We don't have the log for we don't have the replay for the semifinals tiebreak against CTC,
Mm.
but pretty much this was a really important game because it was the most important game that I myself had played at the time,
Mhm.
and it was against someone that people really held in high regard because CTC at this time was like legit, man. Like CTC had like his sort of grasp on the metagame at the time. Like, and I'm sure you can attest to this. CTC helped shape black and white and early XY like no other.
He
Like you
did.
can,
He did.
yeah. So CTC was really highly regarded at the time, and to be able to go up against someone like that and come out on top was like really big for me.
Hmm. Hmm.
And I guess the next one is one that I'm kind of more known for is the World Cup game against Ryza.
Back to your screens if you're still looking away, folks, because this one has to be seen to be believed.
So this game's hilarious because like I have kind of a really shitty matchup against what he brought, which is like this like silly ass stall team with Suicune. I don't even know why it's there, but silly ass stall team against Suicune. And my matchup is pretty horrible because he has the Venusaur for my Breloom and my Thundurus, and pretty much the only thing that I have going for me here is that my Landorus is my Stealth Rocker. That's pretty much it. And what I pretty much do in this game is that I try to keep up rocks with Lando and kind of move the game to where my primary source of damage is Stealth Rock until he gives me the opening that I need, which is like either through me getting uh, any instance of luck or him kind of messing up. But it turns out that I didn't get luck against him. He got luck against me. I missed 8 out of 8 Focus Blasts this game, and it was just completely infuriating. Like, you have no idea.
Focus Blast that would have killed Skarmory, too.
Yeah, a couple of them would have killed Skarmory and
left.
Left.
There's this one that allowed Suicune to avoid death that we see just now.
Exactly. So it was really this game that kind of taught me that I could win a game that I was really behind in and getting lucked in, if I just kept my composure and played it out enough. So look for all my outs and exhausted all my options. This was kind of an eye opener for me because I could have been like anybody and let all my frustrations out. And I think at some point I even kind of start to do it in the game chat. I'm like, I don't know what else I can do. I literally think I said that I was like, okay, keep your cool and look for your out and keep playing and wait for him to make a mistake. This shit can happen, and it actually did happen. So
yeah, and also what happened is that Focus Blast proved that it is bar none the worst move in the entire game.
Oh, it's up there. Yeah, it's up there with your Stone Edges and your
Focus Blast
Hypnosis.
is the worst because sometimes you can usually get away with using Rock Slide, but there's no alternative to Focus Blast.
Yeah. It's really terrible. It's terrible.
The absolute worst.
So
Yep.
people always, when they talk about me, I guess they mention this game as being one of their favorites. So, and that's a game that I really hold close to my heart right there. If you're really proud of that one.
Ridiculous. Focus Blast is the worst. Not to take away from your achievement, just that actually it makes it more impressive if anything, because
Thank you.
Absurd, absolutely absurd stuff. So, moving on. As soon as the Scizor kills the Skarmory. So, what's next on the list?
The next game is the World Cup 2014 round 2 against my friend Jirachi.
Mm-hmm.
So just look at preview. Look at preview and let that tell you the story of what happened and what happens here. Because look at how many of these mons in preview are not allowed in 6th gen anymore. Just take a look.
So we've got 2 Aegislashes, we've got Lando, and we've got 2 Deoxys Speeds.
So this game is pretty much just Phil and I trading our offensive shit for each other's offensive shit, and just the game comes down to literally my Aegislash living head smash recoil I remember exactly at 2 HP.
That's insane. Yeah, a lot of people, some people would say, well, games like these are just a clusterfuck. And, I mean, there's merit to that idea, but in such a volatile game, then that's where, I mean, sure, you can just click buttons and hope for the best, but this is where guys who can really think things out and think things far ahead, then that they shine. Look, for example, Mamoswine is a huge threat on paper, ends up doing nothing, but Gyarados sets up, and suddenly it starts killing stuff, and that's the kind of foresight that we're looking for.
Right, exactly. So I know that the only thing that Latias, I think it was a Latias, right?
Yeah.
Latias can do is Draco Meteor me, and it's gonna kill me. But I'm gonna get to set up my Gyarados and get at least a couple kills with it. So, and you always want to be kind of ahead in the sack department, especially in these games where it's just offense versus offense. So you have to really kind of know exactly which mons you're going to need and which mons can really do damage and which mons you can do without, even if they are huge threats on paper, like Mamoswine was. but I know I can win the game without without having to really use Mammal Swine, so I was okay with letting it go. So
Yeah, and that's the idea of this is that Deoxys and Mamoswine died back to back, and then Gyarados forced it to a position where the Pokemon on Jirachi's end that died were actually big deals.
yeah, exactly. So at that time, I remember regular bounce Gyarados not really being a thing. So he, as I think, as I Dragon Dance, I think he went into Keldeo to counter a potential Mega Gyarados, and I kind of surprised him by being regular.
Hmm.
So yeah, that's the kind of thing that I was saying. Like a generally okay team against the metagame, but having things that takes advantage of whatever tendencies your opponent has. And
Hmm.
Phil was a big Keldeo guy, from what I remember in
Hmm.
early sixth gen. So
Hmm. All right,
uh,
moving on.
the next game, I guess I've already touched upon on this one. The one versus Reiku in 2016.
Yeah, yeah.
So I won't go into that anymore. And then the round two tiebreak against Mazar in 2017.
Oh, Mazar.
Yeah,
If you like
this one,
Mazar, you are less of a person.
this one is like the game, man. Like this is my fucking game. Like this is the one because like if you rewind back, I want to say 6 months before this, Mazar was doing his, slimy shit in SPL and at the expense of my team in the finals,
And mine in the semis.
and yours, of course, yeah. Um, his bots, and everybody knows the story. Of everybody knows the story there. So I waited for the opportunity to kind of get even with this fucking guy. So when the opportunity came to play him, I was like, oh my god, I cannot wait to win this game. I'm going to shit talk. I'm going to shit talk, and I never shit talk.
No,
And
yeah, you're famous for that, and that just proves how much of a slimy piece of shit Mazar was.
if you're that much of a piece of shit that you can get me to kind of lose my composure and shit talk you in the game, then you're really that guy, right?
That guy and then some.
That guy and then some. That's what Mazar was, and this one was satisfying as all hell. Like I couldn't tell
It
you.
was also 1-1 in the series, so this was the decider to see if East or Germany were going on to the semis.
Right, exactly. And at the time, I think Mazar had like a Mazar had his fanboys that were unaware of or didn't want to be aware of his sort of sleaziness and like how slimy of a person this guy was. And it was nice to sort of put all of those guys in their places and win this game. So
I don't think many people were aware of this actually.
yeah,
I think it was just the scooters who, with the Ubers thing that he pulled in the tiebreak, that were just so fully aware of the extent of how ridiculous that was.
if you saw that shit and like really sat down and thought about like what the chances were of him having those exact sets for that exact moment and like the games before that, if you like sat down and thought about it, you would have you knew, like if you knew, you knew.
I thought there was something weird about him having a sub reversal Blaziken against a team against Hack's team in the semis that couldn't touch it at all when that set is generally so terrible. And then in the finals, I thought it was weird how he switched a Ho-Oh into a Swords Dance Primal Groudon and stayed in.
Ridiculous. Didn't even like have the decency to like mask it and like scout the Groudon set first. He just had went into Hoa with like all the confidence in the world that this thing was not going to have Stone Edge, because of course it wasn't going to have Stone Edge because he knew.
Yeah, if you're unfamiliar with the tale of Mazar's cheating, I recommend you go on the Smogon forums, go to the Smogon Premier League subforum, and for this is in 2017. So in the administrative decisions or some shit like that, there's a thread outlining exactly what Mazar did. If you do some searching from that year, then you'll find it fairly easily. But yeah, it was disgusting.
So yeah,
And
and I remember before this game, it, TDK and ABR, who were my teammates at the time, were, and I think
yeah,
you also were adamant on this. they were like, "Yo, you cannot test this team on main. Don't you dare test this." And I was like, "Okay, I won't test this." And if he can't cheat, so he can't win the game. So
Yeah, that was oh, actually the game's about to finish and I'm going to move over to the chat. I generally don't move to the chat because it's not what I focus on, but for this it's warranted because fuck this guy.
yeah, fuck
And
Mazar.
normally I don't try to like be so outright and blatant in my dislike, but this is cheating on such a scale that it makes everything else you could think of look like a playground nonsense. Ridiculous.
So yeah, fuck Mazar. You're terrible at Pokemon, and yeah, good thing you're gone, bro. Fuck you.
Thank God. All right, moving on.
The semifinals tiebreak game versus Trusco.
Well, yeah, we weren't kidding about that tiebreak record earlier. He was in every single round of every single tournament and won every single one up until recently. And
Yep.
still just ridiculous track record. The previous record was like Earthworm, who I think was 4-0 in tiebreakers, and maybe 3 or 4-0 or something like that. And now, well, in this one, we see against Trosco, we see a Camerupt.
Yeah. So I thought it would be so at the in round 1 or 2 of this tournament, Trosco actually had already lost to a Camerupt. I think he played Snow, and Snow brought a Camerupt, and like it had really good time against what Trosco used. So I was like, I think it would be fun if we kind of thought Mega Cam kind of legit Pokemon because we were like, oh, it counters Magearna. It's a fire type. It counters Magearna, but like it didn't actually counter Magearna. But this is the impression that we were under anyway. So I was like, wouldn't it be funny if Trosco lost to Mega Camerupt twice in like the span of like 3 or 4 games? That's pretty much how that came to be.
Mm-hmm.
So, and backstory behind this is that Trosco had actually beaten me already in the normal series between our teams. So we're playing Spain in the semifinals at this point, and I was matched up with him in the regular series, which is like, is it 12 games?
10 games. 10 games.
10 games. Okay, 10 games. So he had beaten me in that. So this was kind of me looking to even the score here between us in this series, and I was able to do that, thankfully. So
You had actually played him in the year prior in the semis
the year before
as well
I played
in
him
a
too.
must-win game.
Yep.
That was a good one too. That was an Oris, and Camerupt was entirely useless in this battle. Because,
No, it actually did something that game.
Oh, did it?
Yeah. Let it go till the end. It actually does stuff. It does cool stuff too. Like it hits Clefable for like 8. It's cool.
All right, because that is sheer force. Well, it absorbs a U-turn right here, and I guess Greninja dies to Spike, so he has no choice but to let something get roasted. But a U-turn. Wow. So, oh, never mind. So he, yeah, Clefable can't soft boil on it.
Mm-hmm.
God, that is strong. 85 to Clef. My
Yep.
God.
So Clef wasn't able to heal, and Keldeo was able to sweep because of Clef being low, or Clef being dead. I mean,
I eat my words. Camerupt was good, and then Ultra Sun and Moon came around, and everyone forgot about it. But
because it was actually really terrible. So
yeah. All right.
I guess.
Sorry, we got one more. I think 1 or 2 more.
Important game. So I guess if there's anyone that, because I don't have that many people who I've played a bunch of times in tournaments, because I don't really play that many tournaments, I guess, as like compared to like some other people. But if there's anyone who I guess I would consider like a rival, it would be Trusco. And we're actually really good friends now, which is kind of.
Sometimes there are just guys who you get paired up with in every single tournament, seemingly. I've had that before, and
Yeah.
All right, so next game, I think we have 2 more.
Or
just 1 more, maybe.
Is it just?
Yeah, it's just the one. It's the Zamog.
Okay, yeah. So it's the tiebreak in the World Cup Finals last year against Zalmog.
Mm-hmm.
So there's a little backstory here. Trosco is one of the people that I've always gotten paired with, and Zalmog is the other one who I've always gotten paired with. And I played him in the other game where I had the superpower scissor with the Ferrothorn. That was in this same series, and prior to that, I was 0-2 against him in tournaments. So that the scissor game put me at 1-2, and then this one would be to kind of even our score, and it was on literally the biggest stage, the finals tiebreak game 3, the decider, the one for all the marbles. So yeah, that's what that game was.
And it was like you said, it was 1-1, and you bring a Moltres. Well, Stall, which you
Yeah,
never bring, but also Moltres. So how did that
yeah.
happen?
So I think we were like, okay, so we have to fight fire with fire in this game. In this game, like literally fire with fire. So he's very likely to, or not very likely, but like he's known for bringing Tapu Koko screens offense a lot, especially now. He's very much known for that. So we had this team in mind with various like kind of routes to to be a team like that. So your Manaphy's would get beaten by Pukumuku, and then you had your Moltres for your lead Landos with Explosion or lead Excadrills, because this Moltres has sub on it. So you would sub on the Lando, and it would be forced to blow up. You subbed on the drill, and it can't toxic you now. It's faster than both. So Moltres was kind of an anti-lead against both of those in that sense, uh, and it was also good against like potential Superior, which is like really good against Stall. And then you had your Protect Zapdos, of course, to uh, potential CB Tar if they ever saw the Stall coming, and then it rounded off with your Stall Stables and your Chanseys and your Sableyes and all that stuff, all that fun stuff. And I never am the type to like bring Stall, so this was kind of a surprise pick for me, I guess,
Is it because you don't think it's that good, or
because I just feel like I'm way better at kind of opening up.
lag again? Oh shit!
Kind
I was off the
of
screen.
very defensively reacting to what my opponent does. I'm the type to be more proactive as opposed to reactive.
Mm-hmm. And generally
So
Stall,
time
once you've
so
lost your foot with Stall, then it's really easy to just be overwhelmed and not be able to do anything about it. Whereas with
exactly.
offense, then you have weapons to actually hit back, and Stall generally relies on going pretty much perfectly the entire time, at least in the newer gens.
Right.
You were saying that
Because
what?
you could bring that team, but like you're not, even if you're not very likely to,
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
So it just kind of gives gives them more stuff to think about you when preparing.
makes it harder for them to cut their corners when they're picking their teams.
Exactly,
Like
because you
if
have
you,
more a
yeah,
wider range of options. So
yeah, if you like, if I like to give this example that it's really easy to make good teams if half the metagame doesn't exist, and if you just don't have to worry about Stall, then it's so much easier to counter all the threats. For example,
exactly, like with certain people, that there's 0% chance that they're going to kind of play styles up. So you're pretty much safe using something that is good against what they always bring, because there's no chance that they're going to branch out.
and that's the kind of stuff that can lose you games. But then on the other hand,
Stall on stall, yeah,
do you ever feel like risky using Stall, because then you have that game where you bring it and you have a bad matchup and you're like, oh dude, my favorite whatever team had a perfectly fine matchup against that, why
you
didn't I
cut
just
out.
bring it? Oh, the Stall thing, it's like sometimes Stall is more prone to bad matchups than most teams usually, and sometimes you have those games where you're like, oh dude, he brought a team that was incredibly weak to my usual stuff, why did he do that, why didn't I just bring my usual stuff? And you
Oh,
just feel
for sure, for sure. In fact, in SPL 9 against Black Oblivion, I brought a stall team, and my and he had a Gravity
Wait,
Landorus
wait.
and a Mamoswine.
Go back to it. SPL9 versus Black Oblivion.
SPL9 against Black Oblivion
Yeah.
is like week 3, I think.
Mm-hmm.
I brought a stall team with ground resist Zapdos, and he had double grounds, including Gravity Landorus with a Mamoswine, and I just got like completely destroyed because I just couldn't do anything about that. So
Mm-hmm. It's a horrible
you know,
feeling. Yeah.
you win some, you lose some. You know, you have to. That's the risk you take when you're bringing kind of a matchup based style like that. So, but
Mm-hmm.
you know, you take my chances with that sometimes.
Yeah, I guess just to mix it up once in a while. It really is a you got to pick your battle kind of thing,
Exactly.
because you don't want to just. I mean, there is something to be said for just using the Greninja, Heatran, Bulu. I know you don't like Bulu, but Azam, Torn, what Lando kind of thing for the rest of your life because it's good against the metagame. But then people who are frustrated by seeing you win with it, they're like, all right, well, I'm going to cut some corners and I'm going to counter team the hell out of that stuff. I know it's hard to counter team that kind of stuff, and that's the whole reason why it's good, and it kind of goes in that circle. But they are going to go out of their way to mess with you a little, and if they know you can use stall, then it leaves a little bit of a doubt in their head and makes it harder for them to do certain things.
Exactly.
So
Other side of the coin, like on the other side of the coin, like if you always use those Greninja, Heatran, Grass type, Lando, Torn type things, it's also more open to kind of getting cheesed,
yeah,
which like people are not above doing, obviously, and they shouldn't be. Um, so yeah, that's very susceptible to like getting cheesed, and if you always bring that, then people are going to catch on to that, and you have to really mix up your play styles and kind of be very
but yeah,
things.
the idea is that with the playstyle differences, then you make it harder for them to zero in on one particular thing. And you also have to be careful with the opponent because there are some guys who are just going to gamble that you aren't going to bring certain things, and that's a weird aspect of Pokemon. But generally, I would say one of the reasons you've been so successful is because you don't partake too much in that nonsense. And I call it nonsense because that's what it is. A lot of times when people get into Pokemon, they say, "Oh, prediction is just guessing." Well, and the great players, they don't quote unquote predict all the time, and they do stuff to put themselves in better positions you can't do anything about. But when you engage too much into, let's say, oh, he's used Ash Greninja already, he's not going to use it again, then that becomes actual guessing. You don't have enough of a basis to really make that assumption. Oh, I don't know if he's still here or not.
Right.
Oh,
You're
you're here. Okay.
Yeah, you're just adding like like element of randomness to an already like super random game.
Some favorite players throughout history and why?
Fair players.
Yeah.
So like I was saying earlier, have parts of their
Mm-hmm.
myself. So people who are like, if his plays can be a little clicky,
Who's?
but he blunder.
Blunder. Mm-hmm.
Blunder. Even if his plays might come across as like a little clicky at times, like he's doing all these things with like a goal in mind. Like he really wants to push the envelope, I guess, and kind of force the issue in his games through like sheer aggression. That's something that I guess like knows exactly how to open up a game. So Blunder is one of my favorites. Other people are just people who I've been around a lot throughout the years. So yourself and Blue and McMegan and CB and Sweepage, people like that have really contributed a lot to my growth as a put it
Mm-hmm.
in my own. But also, and these days, I really enjoy watching people like Pearl, Kratos Mana Anti, uh, TDK, and ABR. Like those are some of my favorite people to watch. Mostly because with Anti, TDK, and ABR, it's just like you're always guessing what they might bring. Like it's always fun to kind of see team preview and see what they're bringing. So
Hmm.
and to see their different little spins on things and like the metagame as a whole through their team building, I think is really cool. And like as much shit as I give someone like Ben Gay, because I think he's obnoxious as fuck sometimes in just like the way that he posts, he's like super entertaining to watch as a player because he has an entirely different vision on like the game itself. Myself and many others have. So Ben Gay is really fun to watch for me
Hmm.
personally. Um, so yeah, mostly dudes who are very, very like creative in their building, and dudes who are very like proactive in their plays and like super super aggressive, and I just really make it a really nice experience for the spectators. I can appreciate that a lot.
All right.
And guys who are like also characters like Ojama. Like you can't not get up for Ojama's games. Like there's no way. Like
Sure.
you have to be around to watch Ojama play. Like something like he could like play the most masterful game, or he could get lucked and like Ojama like yeah, stuff could go down when he gets unlucky. So you have to be
Sure.
around for those.
Sure. All right. The cheese thing made me think. Before we get into our final question, I want to preface that with something else. In recent times, so let's say the past year I would say is accurate, then there's become more of an emphasis on cheesing players who someone thinks is better than them, and this is not a back in my day, get off my lawn kind of complaint. It's just
Right.
a different perspective kind of thing because before it used to be, all right, this guy. I mean, some people walked in with defeatist attitudes, like, oh, this guy's gonna wipe the floor with me before they even see the teams, rather than saying, hey, this guy's just as much of a Pokemon player as me. His Latios is weak to pursuit, just like everyone else, and things like that. Then nowadays it's like I'm not gonna try and play my best. I'm gonna try and beat him in a way that he can't beat me and turn it into a gambling game. And what do you think has contributed to the rise of cheese as such a prominent playstyle?
I think that the sort of mentality has shifted greatly from when I first started. Like, and I think we can mostly like attribute that to the amount of like resources there are now, like compared to. And again, this isn't a back in my day type thing because like there's nobody that hates those people who only make back in my day posts more than I do, because I think the game has never been in a better spot than it is right now. Like as far as a skill standpoint,
Yeah. I
but
like I like the back in my day thing. As in, I loved to reminisce on the old days. I think they were genuinely fantastic. But the people who go back in my day, everything was better. They make those times look bad.
Yeah,
So
exactly. The people who strictly go back in my day to shit on like the current generation of players those are the people who I'm not okay with.
anyway, you were
Um,
saying.
the like sheer amount of resources that people have at their disposal now is just like ridiculous, and it makes it really easy to kind of like know exactly what it is that they're using and like kind of base the game around that. Like there's probably a million different players just kind of sitting in a Discord right now with like their friends, and they're sharing the latest, ABR teams and TDK teams or whatever, right? And like down to like the EVs that they use, like they know what you're using, and like they're just like there's no way that they're going to be using this team, and considering that their skill level, and I have nothing to lose by trying to gain a small sort of edge on them by kind of playing the matchup game, and like they're not really there's really no shame in their game to like and that's just the path that they choose to take, and like I can see why, but that's just not something that I can ever. That's just not a theory that I can ever subscribe to personally. So I think it's just because of the amount of resources that we have now, and I think those resources are great. Don't get me wrong. Like I love being able to watch replays instead of having to read logs all day. Like who likes reading logs in 2019? I don't know a single person, but
Even I can't defend that. I
But yeah,
tried. I like to think that I could if I really had to, but I generally don't have to. So.
and I think that also makes it so like the new players that come into this game are very it's very hard for one of them to stand out from the others because they're all using the same kind of resources in the same kind of ways, you know?
Mhm. Mhm.
And that makes it really hard for me to like see one of them stand out from the other. Like I can't really tell the difference between like player C from whatever click there is out there, you know, and like the same like player D from that same click. Like they're all the same to me. Like they have the same exact play style and they use the same exact teams, and like they just don't stand out from each other. And they're just seen as very kind of average because they're all doing the same things, and like none of them are trying to actually be like, okay, so I have this team and like this is the reason that ABR or TDK are using this move on you know X or Y Pokemon, and you know they don't really try to understand the game in that way. They just kind of take the team and use it and hope for the best.
So as opposed to someone like say a Lopunny Kicks kind of guy, who he came onto the scene and he really stood out because he has his own brand of the Chansey Mawile kind of thing, and he played really aggressively and he's got really far in a short amount of time. So would you say he's one of the
Exactly.
guys who So
Yeah,
he's like the
exactly. That's one of the
counterexample.
players. That's one of the newer players that I'd say stands out the most because he's got you know his own quirkiness to even the like kind of bullshit teams that he uses with the you know chancy offense and stuff. But he's got his own twist on things, so that helps him stand out from like the rest of the players that came out of that same time period. You know what I'm saying?
Mhm.
So yeah.
All right, so let's get into the last big question. What are your thoughts on the current Sun and Moon metagame? So we got a couple of categories. Just general, what's it like? Do you like it? Why? And then we've got the what's the best Pokemon around, or what are the best Pokemon around? What are the broken Pokemon, if any? What's overrated? What should people not be using? And what's underrated? What should people be using?
So I really love Sun Moon, and I've loved Sun Moon like the entirety of the generation. So I'm kind of biased here, but I really think Sun Moon is in a really good spot as it is right now. Especially like when Zygarde got banned, that's when so many like possibilities opened up. Like so many things just change and like you just see so many things being used in so many different play styles, and it's just so cool to me to like see how that came to be just because of you know the way that we as like a community have shaped the metagame. That's so cool to see.
Mm-hmm.
So I think the metagame's in a really good spot, especially now during OLT, which is like the time where you see the most rapid like development of the metagame and like people really trying to like push their creativity and like push the like see how far they can go with like all these different play styles and like these different Pokemon, and like I think it's like so cool to watch that stuff personally.
Mm-hmm. So OLT is the one where you see a lot of more cheese than anything else. Because there's, well, I don't know if Rain's cheese. I think Rain's legit, but like Sticky Web is at an all-time high in OLT season. Sticky
So I
Web and
re-
various forms of stall.
so I really like how people come up with ways of kind of combating that those cheesy play styles with like their own like little twists on things. That's like one of my favorite parts of watching OLT. Just like the complete ridiculousness and utter chaos that comes out of the ladder during that time.
Mm.
And it's not something that I would subject myself to because I'm not crazy.
Right,
But
right. Yeah.
but you know, if you are into that sort of stuff, then more power to you.
All right. So, what's the current metagame like? What's at the top? What's defining it? OLT and otherwise, because OLT kind of presents a skewed view, because once you get out of that OLT ladder session, you see some new stuff, but then by and large, it's mostly the stuff that you saw beforehand when people aren't trying to grind out a million games at once with one team.
So I guess the things that dominate the game are kind of the things that have sort of been dominating it for a while now. Like you know, your Magirnas, which people think is like the most broken thing ever, which I disagree with personally. But your Magirnas and your Ashgrens, which is like the most like centralizing mon in the tier, and like it's something that you have to account for with like dark resistance stuff. Even though some people don't, but whatever. And your Heatrans and your Landos and your Torns and your Kartanas, all those guys are like what are pretty much the metagame defining things. And if I miss one, feel free to add
One of
it.
the things that I've noticed in Sun and Moon that fluctuates the most is which Tapu is on top, because there are
Yeah,
periods where like everyone loves Bulu. The most comical
yeah.
example to me was two OLTs ago when I remember day 1 or 2, then people were like, all right, you got to use Tapu Bulu, and then day 2 or 3, it was everywhere I looked, Tapu Bulu is unviable.
Oh,
And
dude, it's so extreme with Bulu because I remember in like 2017. I think this is towards the time that you're talking about.
yeah.
2017 World Cup. Bulu was literally like borderline broken. Like we were teching for that thing with freaking sludge bomb on every Lando T, like or sludge wave on every Lando T, just for SD Z move Tapu Bulu because it was just completely ridiculous. But yeah, I think like things like or Tapu Koko is pretty down at the moment. And like during World Cup, Tapu Fini was really high on people's lists for whatever reason because like it's a defogger that can like switch in on most like Heatran sets and Ashgren and do all that fun stuff, right? But during OLT, I see a lot of Lele because Lele's like okayish against like some stalls and like it fits on a lot of sort of the more hyper offensive teams that aren't like screens or webs based. Lele is a good fit on those, so it's really easy to use. And Tapu Fini's kind of doing what it normally does in checking Ashgren, defogging, and all that stuff. So
Yeah, so
the only
that's the OLT example was extreme, but the thing you just described about how in certain time periods, Coco especially, it goes from oh Coco sucks to oh my god Coco is broken. I feel like every couple months. So like, what contributes to that specifically?
um I'm not really sure. I guess like the types of teams that people use now with like your pharaohs and your megalottes like don't really and your like bulky bulus like don't really help Coco in that sense. But when people are using like the more frail things, then Coco kind of is able to shine. But like where I really think Coco's really like really good is in tournament setting where there's a lot more where Tornadoes is on like every team. So
Mm-hmm.
and Coco's like his main use is checking Torn. So I think it's way better in tournament than it is on the ladder because Torn fits on less of those extreme play styles and more on the on more on teams that are like more suited for tournament play, I guess.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So it just depends on what people think is good at that time, obviously, and that'll like define what Tapu is like gonna shine at that moment. So Coco's down right now because people are using kind of bulkier teams where it's not really doing anything except for kind of creating momentum with U-turn if it can, and
Mm-hmm.
not much else. So
And is Lele kind of the opposite? When bulky stuff is more popular, it's really good, and when it's more offensive, then not so much.
I would say so, yeah, because um, Lele is one of those things that's like the scariest thing on paper to like every team, but like when you're using offense, you have like a million and two things that outspeed it. So it's not. It's like when is this thing ever gonna get a chance to sort of come in unless I like give it a million free turns, you know?
Mm-hmm.
Whereas like against fatter teams where with your Toxapexes and your Clefables and stuff, it's got a lot more. It's got a lot more chances to do stuff. So
Mm-hmm. And Fini in particular has been polarizing because it was described as straight up bad for a long time, and then
oh,
everyone
it
realized
was
it's
straight up
really
bad
good.
until everybody realized, whoa, this
That it
thing
wasn't
can,
good, or that it was good rather.
yeah, this thing can come in on Greninja like all day as it spikes, and then it can like come in on Heatran that's not running. That's kind of why Heatran has the Bloom Doom set has kind of risen a little bit is because of Finny and like stuff like Rotom because
Mhm.
people are like, oh well, this stuff is good, so let's and this stuff is being used a lot more, so let's bring back Z-Grass Tran and see what people do about it.
Mhm. And Bulu is polarizing. You got some people who just love it because giving your team passive recovery is delightful. So, I remember when Mega Latios first got popular and it had Earthquake. Then Bulu plus T-Tar slash Magirna was amazing because suddenly Earthquake does shit to both, and you counter
Right.
it really nicely. And then there are other people who are like, well, you also give your opponent grassy terrain, which has personally never bothered me. But which camp do you
It's
fall in? Do you think it's meta dependent or?
it's never really bothered me. Giving them grassy terrain has never really been a thing that bothers me. It's just more that like these sets that I would like to run on Bulu are just like not that good. Like Choice Band can be amazing, but then you could also run into a team that has double quad resist to grass. So and you could end up just not doing anything that game.
Mm-hmm.
Whereas like if you try to use Kartana as your banded grass type, Kartana is faster, it's stronger, and it has a and it actually has an actual secondary stab on top of like knockoff. So
Mm-hmm.
I think if you're gonna break with a grass type, it should be Kartana. So that's
But
why
Bulu
I
gives
wouldn't.
you the offense or the defense while you have offense.
Yeah, the thing about Bulu that I guess makes it nice is the unique typing, so you can come in on Ashgren. But I just never preferred it to. I just always preferred like Tangrowth and even Amoonguss and Ferrothorn to it defensively. I just can't get behind Bulu really.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So
All right, so we've gone over that. Nothing's broken. Anything else overrated? I mean, now that we've gone through like the Tapu cycle, but you see something.
overrated. Yeah,
Yeah.
there's the aforementioned Bulu.
Mm.
I can't say it enough. Bulu. I think there's people who swear by this mod, but I just think it's been garbage. Like the entire time that's been out, it's just Diancie. I can't do Diancie.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
There's also Halucha. I guess is kind of a bit overrated because like people still try to make it work on those screens teams, and it's not hard to wall with your typical bulky team, and it's not hard to like deny it a chance to get an SD with a more offensive team, and like most things on those teams can at least tank a hit and kill it in return. Like you have your Z Fly Landos and your and whatever else, your priority moves and all this other stuff.
Gren finishes it off every time. Yeah.
Ran with the Shuriken, yeah. So I just think Halucha's not hard to stop it all, and like yeah, that's pretty much my thoughts on that. But people still continue to run those teams for whatever reason.
All right. What's underrated? What's some cool stuff we should be looking out for?
Well, like the terrors of the OLT ladder. I'll give you the top three. They're regular Gyarados, Megalodios, and Superior. Like, oh my god, these things are like so crazy on the OLT ladder. Like, I've been spectating and like I've never seen Gyarados sweep so many teams, and it's not even the Mega one. It's the regular one, Z Bounce. I've never seen Gyarados sweep so many teams than on the OLT ladder. It's ridiculous.
What's making
Um,
it so good?
it's just the types of teams that it's on are just like really really good for the ladder. Like the sort of hyper offensive things.
Mm-hmm.
It's just those teams are really good on ladder, and Gyarados has like for whatever reason I don't know why Gyarados has so many chances to just DD up on like so many teams, and especially like it's one of the like scarier mons to face with like rain teams.
Mm-hmm.
Like funnily enough, it's really scary to face with rain teams, and rain teams are really common on the ladder. So Gyarados just gets for whatever reason it just gets a lot of chances to set up on OLT ladder, and Superior, we all know what Superior does. Like it's gonna glare and it's gonna be annoying and it's gonna like get all these boosts with Leaf Storm. And it's just gonna like snowball and like it's gonna be +6 and you just can't do anything about it sometimes.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
And well, Megalotti is kind of funny because like you wouldn't think that it would like so many teams would be so weak to Megalotti considering the amount of like your Tyrannitars and your Greninjas, right? But like I've seen Megalotti sweep so many teams, and I look at so many teams, and I'm just like, Megalotti 6-0s this team, and I don't know why. I cannot put my finger on why exactly that is, but it's just something crazy. I don't
I
know.
remember a year and a half ago, then there was a craze about Megalodias slaughtering everything without a dark type too.
I think it still has the potential to do that, dude. Especially like, and
And
for
you
the
got
dark
paired with like
types,
T spikes and stuff. Yeah.
yeah, you need T spikes for the dark types, but like it's just crazy, Megalotti.
Mm-hmm.
Those are top three like demons on the OLT ladder. Like my god.
Do you see any of these having lasting impact on the metagame? Because Hawlucha especially was one thing you mentioned, and it just like kind of comes and surges. Superior's always kind of been there, but Megalodios especially fluctuates. So does Gyarados, and things like Volcarona and that kind of thing. Do you think they're just
Gyarados,
gonna
I
keep
think
like fluctuating?
Gyarados, I think is less usable in a tournament setting than it is on ladder setting because like I said, the teams that it's on the ladder are just like not teams that you would typically see in a lot of tournament games. So you just don't see a lot of Gyarados.
Mm-hmm.
Um, as far as like the other two go, their usage fluctuating. I don't really know because like Megalotti has seen like a decent amount of usage in Tor because it can do things like come in on the Z Garchomps of the world and all that stuff and Z Landos and
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
be annoying with T Wave and like it has a lot of other uses besides just being a Calm Mind sweeper. But on the ladder, I see mostly it being a Calm Mind sweeper. But I don't really know. And SERP is just kind of always going to be there. I think SERP is just like constant thing that people are going to use because glare is cool.
Yeah.
Glare is glare. So.
Very good strategy. Um,
Mhm.
there's a lot of difference, or maybe not a lot, but I feel like a ton between like the tournament metagame where you see uh, safer stuff. I mean, you see your fair amount of cheese, but some of the Rabombi stuff on ladder is just crazy to me.
You're
And
not gonna see that in tournament because people are like scared to like lose with something and be like have fingers pointed at them like being like oh, if you didn't use so and so you would have gone further in X tournament, or if you didn't use Ribombi webs in the deciding game of so and so team tour, your team could have gone much further. And they're just more afraid of being singled out for being the guy that brought
mhm.
a certain thing that people don't always agree with. Like, I'll give you an example. Like, do you remember this past World Cup where Blarg brought like Witch Killer?
And the must-win SM game.
Yes, he brought it. He
Yeah.
brought Witch Killer against Flaming Victini, and like people kind of like crucified him for bringing Witch Killer, which I thought was kind of funny.
Hmm.
So people are less likely to bring stuff that other people disagree with because they're kind of afraid of that disagreement.
Hmm. Hmm.
So
Yeah, I see what you mean. And on ladder, then that's not really a concern.
it's not a concern at all because you're just laddering. You're just trying to climb as fast as you can, win as many games as you can. So
Speaking of climbing, then what are your thoughts on Rain? I've always thought it was really consistent. That's why I like it. I mean, maybe not every single game for the rest of your life consistent, but I don't think there really is a team like that for Sun and Moon, barring maybe some Ash Greninja offense. But then again, that's what Rain has too, and it just seems like it wins a lot. And we saw Blunder using it a ton in SPL when it most mattered, and it winning the entire tournament. And some people like to give it shit. So which camp are you in?
I really think Rain is like good, but it's just fundamentally I can't agree with it because it is naturally very weak to things that I'm very paranoid about when I go into like prepare for a game. So your Mega Alakazams and your Kartanas are very threatening terrain, and like you have to deal with them in very specific ways on those teams, and I'm just like I don't know if I can pull that off. So I don't like Rain as much as other people, but I think it's really good, especially for like uh low to kind of mid ladder. I think it's really good. And like
Mm.
it's really like you yeah, Swampert's like like complete terror. And I've seen like people run these ridiculous techs on their Rain teams, which I think is really cool.
Can you name some of them?
Yeah, Pursuit Pelipper
Yeah,
and
I heard about that one.
Pursuit Pelipper, Subtoxic Swamper, which Lefties was running, and yesterday I saw Solwyn running Stone Edge Swamper
Shedinja?
for Shedinja and Demon Gyarados.
Ooh. I remember hearing about people running Toxic for that and Tangrowth.
Yeah, it's kind of cool. It's kind of
That's
cool.
nuts.
I like Rain. I've never used Rain in like a serious game, but I can see the merit to Rain.
Mm.
I'm not a total Rain hater because
Mhm.
I'd be a hypocrite if I said that I wasn't a fan of Rain because it's a play style that depends on like a set number of turns from your weather setter. I'd be a hypocrite because I've used a lot of sand in the past,
Mm.
so I
Drill
can't really
sand.
say
Right,
yeah
right.
drill sand. So I can't really say that I don't like Rain because it relies on the set number of turns and then turn around and use drill sand all the time. So
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Uh, but it's also nice, I think, because you get well. First of all, it's not entirely dependent on rain to be good, and you do get a ton of opportunities throughout the game. I feel like.
yeah, exactly. You still have mons that are pretty good on their own, like Rain aside. Like you still have an Ash Greninja, you still have Ferrothorn, you have Tornadus, you still have Magearna. Like these Pokemon are all good regardless of Rain. So
Mm-hmm.
like the only Rain dependent mon that most of these teams religiously have is like Swampert, and some of them like most people have dropped Kingdra entirely on Rain, so that's one less thing that relies heavily on Rain. So these are all like standalone mons that function pretty well outside of Rain. So
Mm-hmm. So, we're gonna wrap things up here with by asking you, what is the future of Brofist? Are you excited for Gen 8? Some people stay in their older gens to what seems like the end of time. So, do you see yourself still kicking around in Oris and Sun and Moon when that comes out?
I'll still play them, but I've always been the type to move on to whatever's new. Like I've never there's some people who like stayed in black and white even after X, Y, and Oras were out. Like I could just never do that because I always like to be playing what everybody else is playing.
Mm-hmm.
So definitely looking forward to Gen 8 and like the changes that brings. And I haven't really been keeping up with like a bunch of the news and stuff. So I'm kind of going in half blind to it because I do know about like um, the Dex thing,
Mm-hmm.
the limited Dex thing. I do know about that.
And how they replaced Megas with something even more ridiculous?
Yes, I'm aware of that. But I'm definitely looking forward to Gen 8. I'm going to probably play. I say probably, but I'm definitely going to end up playing Gen 8 and SPL
Mm-hmm.
11. So, but for right now, I'm kind of just set on like managing my Snake team and kind of taking a break from playing until Gen 8. So yeah, that's pretty much it. I'm going to get into Gen 8. I'm going to play Gen 8. Um, as for like participating in tournaments, definitely SPL, and after that, I'll cross that bridge when I get there. I guess I don't know.
All right. Okay, so I think that's it. Are there any parting words you want to give the audience?
Um, parting words. So I guess I want to uh, tell the newer players out there to kind of try to do things that makes you stand out from the rest of the crowd.
Mm-hmm.
Like really put in the time and like one of the things that I did to get better was like really watch people that I thought were way better than I was. Like there's always something that you can improve on, even if you think that you're the most complete player that there is out there. There's always something that you can improve on. There's always things that you can add. There's always ways that you can look at the game that you haven't looked at before. So
Mm-hmm.
try to kind of expand your horizons and keep an open mind to like everything that you can. So
All right. Seems like a good place to end. So, John, thank you
oh,
for being on the show. And yeah, thank you for watching, guys. I hope you enjoyed, and I will catch you next time.